It's Super Bowl week. It's also Black History Month. Hopefully, I don't get canceled for something I'm about to discuss on the show to kick it off. I'm Paul Gallant, and this is the Gallant Says podcast live on February 2nd, 2026. Hit it!
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people wonder.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to see.
Fucking grow up, mother. Are you kidding me? Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Oi!
Hey! Oi! Oi! Oi!
Zigzag, zigzag, oi, oi, oi.
We are live on YouTube at Paul Gallant, Twitch at Gallant Says, Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports, Instagram at Sports Gallant, TikTok at Gallant Says, on X at Gallant Says Pod, and available after the fact on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Racism and sports have a long relationship. They have a depressing relationship. Friday, I went to go see the premiere of a very illuminating, in a sad way, documentary about the Prairie View Interscholastic League. In case you've never heard of it before, it used to be called the Texas Interscholastic League of Colored Schools. I saw this on Friday night. It really was sobering. Especially realizing that segregation when it came to sports in Texas took place all the way up to 1970. Wild. Not that long ago. Told a lot of interesting stories about high school players from the parts around Houston and throughout the state of Texas. I saw Mean Joe Green, of all people, there. Famous from the Steel Curtain Pittsburgh Steelers defense from back in the day. Very cool to see him. Very sad to realize the hula hoops that he had to jump through, along with many others did, to eventually get to realize their dream of playing in the National Football League. There was one story in particular that really bummed me out. It was the story of Houston's Eldridge Dickey. Dickey, for those who don't know, was the first ever first-round draft pick who was a black quarterback. In NFL history, 1968, the Raiders took him. In training camp, he competed against second-round pick Kenny Stabler. Became a Hall of Famer. From what that documentary highlighted and from what I read online, apparently, Dickey might have outplayed Stabler. But the Raiders moved Dickey to wide receiver, and he never got to play quarterback. Ever. And he was out of the league 5 years later or so. So racism, it's part of sports. But is it everywhere? All at once? Should we always be looking for it? I think we've made a lot of progress as a country. Some might argue we haven't made enough. Sure, we can always make progress. We can always get better. But I also think that there's a growing amount of people who are getting tired of everything being pointed at and labeled as racist. That word gets thrown around extremely casually these days, as does the word Nazi. An example of this is from over the weekend. Draymond Green. Who would have thought Draymond Green would say something that would rile people up? But here is the Golden State Warriors forward talking about a moment in a game over the weekend where a referee, per him, put his hand in Draymond's face. In case you didn't see that over the weekend, here you go. Here is Draymond.
I will tell you, though, I find it very ironic that I got a technical foul for telling a Caucasian referee not to put his hand in my face. as a black man in America, don't put your hand in my face. And I said, hey, don't put your hand in my face, and I got a tap. So I thought that was the most interesting thing of the night.
Did he try to
Next
explain
to my
himself?
bobblehead. He said, Draymond, this is your chance to stop talking to me, bro. Don't put your hand in my face. Oh, Tech. Oh, okay. So, you know, everybody want to talk about holding the line of respect. That line need to be held both ways, you know, so. If the line won't be held both ways, then the line won't be held from my way either, because we all men.
Right.
And we all can make decisions and choices, so. But let that be the last time that happened.
I watched this moment that Draymond's talking about. I don't think the ref ever raised his hand, let alone raised it in Draymond's face. I'd show you the video, but I'm sure that I would get copyright struck by the NBA. Maybe Draymond knows that. Draymond even talked about this on his podcast after the fact. And he really is digging himself quite the foxhole to defend himself against a referee that was pointing in his face.
Discussed the post-game comments with the referee. I know everybody was like, oh, man, why'd you mention being a black man in America? Well, the reason I mentioned being a black man in America because black people in America has suffered more than anyone. Black people in America has been mistreated more than anyone. Black people in America has been marginalized more than anyone. Black people in America has been dealt a bad hand since the beginning of time. And so the reason I spoke about being a black man in America is because in everything that black people in America have gone through, I'm not okay with anyone for that matter, but in particular in this situation, a white man putting his hand in my face and telling me in his stern voice that now is my chance not to say another word. And
which Draymond probably should have listened to, right? Because I think he got tossed from the game. So he tells his side of the story after the fact. Some people are going to eat this up. Other people are going to roll their eyes because it's Draymond Green talking. And sometimes Draymond Green stretches the truth a little bit. And he's definitely doing it here. He called this ironic, this moment. Ironic that a referee is pointing a finger in his face. Well, he never pointed the finger in his face. Go watch the video for yourself. And I really struggle to see what he's upset about there. But fine, whatever. That's Draymond Green. How does this relate to CJ Stroud, you might be thinking to yourself? Come on, Paul. Talk about the Houston Texans. That's all you're good for talking about. Well, moments like this blow up on the algorithm a lot. And sometimes a lot of people are in agreement with someone like Draymond Green saying something like that. Others maybe not so much. But I saw a conversation that was taking place on the internet, and it's just a clip of the conversation. It was posted. This is from a show called The Cookout, which features my guy DJ Bien-Aimé, who I used to regularly have on ESPN Houston, talking about the Houston Texans. It's got Jonathan Alexander of the Houston Chronicle, who covers the Texans. It's got Chancellor Johnson, who used to work at Channel 2. He's now doing stuff for the Big 12 network. I like and respect all three of these guys. But they had a conversation about the criticism against CJ Stroud. And I thought this was bullshit. In case you missed it, here it is from the most recent episode of The Cookout. A conversation about the criticism against CJ Stroud.
I'll say this to finish it off. When you don't look like the prototypical way historically we've looked at the position, and you have bad games, your criticism is going to be unfairly way more heightened. Like, and that's one thing. Like, we've come a long way how we discuss a lot of these quarterbacks, but theoretically, like, there's still a lot of ways to go because if you don't look a certain way, you are going to get criticized way more than people that look like the prototypical description that's always been at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
There's a pause there for a moment.
I mean, to put it more clearly, black quarterbacks get criticized a lot higher than white quarterbacks, even when they say have the same issues. Like, no, I agree with that point. Like, Justin Herbert was terrible last year, but he got criticized, but he didn't get criticized nearly to the level.
Yeah,
CJ Stroud. People weren't talking about trading him. People weren't making jokes on social media
at all. Not at all.
People were saying like 31 quarterbacks. When Dan said, like, he's a colleague, but when he said 31, and I'm glad he apologized, but when he said 31 quarterbacks would have won that game against the Patriots. Like, what? No way, no how. Now, don't get me wrong. CJ played terrible in that game, and he deserves to be criticized for playing that badly. But like the overtopness, like I haven't seen the shift in a quarterback perception like that, like, ever.
So that's DJ, that's Jonathan Alexander, to an extent that's Chancellor Johnson as well. I want to make it clear, it's not like any of these guys are saying that CJ Stroud can't be criticized because he's a black quarterback or anything like that. And they all, in this podcast, said that Stroud played the worst game of his career. And if you want to watch the whole episode for yourself to get whatever context you might need, go and do it. I like all three of the guys. I don't know if they like me anymore after the little interactions that we had on X over the weekend. But they said this: when you don't look like the prototypical quarterback, like the prototypical way we have historically looked at the position, your criticism is going to be unfairly way more heightened. Huh? Is that still true? In a league where, at one point this year, I know that 16 of the 32 starting quarterbacks in the league were black. Is that still true? They pointed to Justin Herbert, and Herbert's not getting crushed after his most recent playoff performance. People make a lot of excuses for Justin Herbert, so maybe they're onto something there. Josh Allen did play well in a game where he made a lot of mistakes and single-handedly kept the Bills in the game. Okay, maybe they're not getting absolutely destroyed, but can we not gloss over the fact that Stroud threw 4 fucking interceptions in the first half? I think just about all criticism that isn't personal, that isn't saying the worst possible things to him, I think all criticism of that performance that we saw together on Sunday, it's all valid. He threw 4 interceptions in the first half in a game where the Texans still had a chance to win. I don't think any of the criticism that he's getting is unfair. Look at the window that they had this year. Look at the opportunity that they had this year. There was a real chance that they could have, had they advanced to play the Denver Broncos and Jarrett Stidham, who stinks, make it to the Super Bowl and be playing in this game on Sunday. They made a lot of mistakes in the game. It wasn't just C.J. Stroud. Woody Marks had a fumble. There were some moments where the defense was taken advantage of by the Patriots, even though Drake May didn't play particularly well. I don't buy the idea that we are still looking at a black quarterback, and when he fails, specifically crushing that guy more than we'd crush another quarterback who had the same performance. Now, I think with the Herbert argument that these guys made, and I think they're talking about the game that Herbert had against the Texans last season, and Herbert is put on a pedestal by the dorks who cover the NFL. Okay, watch that game. Yeah, he didn't play very well. After the game, though, lots of people were making excuses for Herbert. And if you want to be annoyed by that, you can be. You can. Perhaps people weren't looking at the Texans defense and giving them the amount of respect that they deserved, although that's technically another way to support Justin Herbert out there. But I'm not here to support Justin Herbert. If a quarterback throws four interceptions in the first half and his team loses a playoff game, and this is a guy who at one point we saw as a top 5 guy, he's going to get absolutely destroyed. You know how I know that? Because I've seen it happen before with Peyton Manning. Go back to the beginning of Peyton Manning's career. Look at all of the times that he wasn't able to get it done in the playoffs. And there's a lot of examples of this. A lot of examples of this. First off, the first time he made the playoffs, 1999. This is rookie. It's not his rookie season, but it's his first year in the playoffs. His rookie season, he threw a lot of interceptions. He got a lot of criticism for that, by the way. But his second year, Colts, Marvin Harrison, Edgerrin James, they played the Tennessee Titans in the playoffs. The Titans win. Next year, Peyton Manning and the Colts. I'm looking this up on the fly, so give me a little bit of slack here. But the next time that Peyton Manning made it to the playoff, things didn't go so well either. In the year of our Lord 2000, the Colts lost to the Miami Dolphins 23-17 in overtime. He didn't play well. 2003, the New York Jets, 9-7, AFC East champions who won the division at the end of the season, took down the Colts 41-0. Manning was 14 of 31 with 2 interceptions. He was crushed for the performances that he put up in his first 3 playoffs, and comparisons were made to his time when he was at Tennessee and couldn't get it done against, at the time, Tennessee's arch rival of the 90s, the Florida Gators. Gators won a national title in 96. Tennessee finally wins a national title once Peyton Manning's out of the equation, which is kind of funny. It makes Tennessee fans sick. He has the big games the next postseason with the Colts against the Broncos and against the Chiefs. He throws 4 interceptions in the AFC Championship game. The next year has a huge game against the Broncos. His team scores 3 points with new rules that favor the Colts against the New England Patriots. I realize we do not live in a world of social media back in 2003, 2004. We didn't live in that. There weren't as many avenues to get after Peyton Manning, but Manning was considered a choking dog by many, especially those in Boston, which is where I grew up. Is Peyton Manning a black man? And of course, Peyton Manning goes on to have a Hall of Fame career. He eventually does get a Super Bowl, blah, 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 blah. But I have seen Peyton Manning get crushed, even though he's had great regular seasons. There's other quarterbacks who, by the way, get clowned a lot more than C.J. Stroud's been clowned of late. Haven't people been killing Sam Darnold for years? He's in the Super Bowl. He had mono. He saw ghosts. The end of last year, he got sacked like 300,000 times in those last couple of games, to the point he was considered toxic by the team he was on. That definitely misses him right now. They fired a general manager over that. We'll get to that in a little bit. Daniel Jones has been crushed for bad performances, period. I guess he did make the playoffs once. We've seen Jared Goff get crushed for poor performances in the playoffs, for not knowing where the sun rises. We've seen Baker Mayfield, because of all the overexposure in the commercials, get crushed as well. We've seen Tim Tebow get crushed. Maybe with Tim Tebow, it's a little bit more understandable because his supporting cast is as annoying as the Shedeur Sanders supporters out there. But I just don't buy that C.J. Stroud is getting criticism. That is due. He threw 4 interceptions in the first half. That's significantly worse than any that we have ever seen. And I think bringing race into it, it's cheap. And I do think it's bullshit. I don't know if that was personal. Go online and check out the exchange that I had with Jonathan and with Chancellor. And maybe I was personal in calling it bullshit. But I think it's a bullshit card to play. Hopefully I'm going to talk with DJ about it at some point this week. But I do not think that race is a reason that people are dumping on CJ Stroud, the reason they're dumping on him. They're dumping on him because for the last 2 years, we have seen stagnation or regression capped off with the worst performance of his career, with about 9 months until we're going to see him on a football field again. And a couple more months until he's hopefully back on the same stage on which he threw 1, 2, 3, 4 interceptions in the first half. We're always going to have tough conversations about race. If you want to have tough conversations about race, you've got plenty of examples and opportunities right now in the National Football League. These are the coaches that got hired this coaching cycle. John Harbaugh, who I think is overrated. Kevin Stefanski in Atlanta. Jeff Hafley, the Dolphins hired another fucking Packers assistant. Let's see how that goes. Robert Saleh, who sucked with the Jets but is good at press conferences. Jesse Minter to the Ravens. Okay, maybe that one's good. The Steelers hired Mike McCarthy. The Bills are keeping their same operation going by just promoting Joe Brady to head coach. The Browns end up with Todd fucking Monken, of all people, who many would argue is the reason that John Harbaugh no longer has a job in Baltimore. The Raiders are getting another Kubiak. The Cardinals are hiring another LaFleur. You want to make an argument about racism and coaches of a different prototype being held to a different standard. It's obvious with the coaches. Brian Flores is better than most of those guys. Brian Flores thought Stephen Ross was a dipshit, wanted to get a better quarterback. Tom Brady, tampering. On top of that, Brian Flores also thought Tua sucked. Oh, we could have just skipped the last couple of years in Miami. Now, maybe he wasn't great with everybody else on that team, but Brian Flores is one of those guys where I'm shocked that he doesn't have another job. But does he not have another job because of race, or does he not have another job because he's in a lawsuit against the National Football League that's due to race? A question for a show with a little more expertise on the matter. There's always some racism going on in the world of sports, is what I'm trying to tell you. But what frustrates me is that in this situation right here, we're pointing to this as a reason that Stroud is getting more criticism. Stroud just played the worst fucking game of his career, hopefully. That's why he's getting criticized. I don't think it has to do with him being black. I really don't. So that's how I cap off. That's how I kick off Black History Month. Hopefully I haven't just been canceled. You want to jump aboard, you know how to do it. On YouTube at Paul Gallant, on Twitch at Gallant Says, on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports, on Instagram at Sports Gallant, and on the TikTok at Gallant Says. Jesus Hernandez says, should have hired Mike as an assistant coach. Our offense needs a better mind. I don't know if he was going to take that gig. I really don't, you know? I think we all want to believe that the Texans could have hired somebody who's like a real big name coordinator. But I just don't think that was going to happen, you know? I think ultimately what could have happened is that could have happened. Theoretically, we got to mute this. Is that we got to mute this. Could have happened. Theoretically, we got to mute this. Is that we got to mute this. Oh, wow, we're getting all sorts of back. Could have happened. Theoretically, we got to mute this. Is that we got to mute this. Oh, wow, we're getting all sorts of happen. Theoretically, we got to mute this. Is that we got to mute this. On? Oh, wow, we're getting all sorts of happen. Theoretically, we got to mute this. Is that we got to mute this. On? Oh, wow, we're getting all sorts of happen. Theoretically, we got to mute this. Is that we got to mute this. On? Oh, wow, we're getting all sorts of happen. Theoretically, we got to mute this. Is that we got to mute this. Oh, wow. That's not good. All right, well, it seems that the continuous attempts to sign in on all these apps online are once again creating some issues, you know? Alas, earwax on that front. That's a bummer. I have no idea what happened there, H-Town Hard Hitter. No idea. Littering hand. EDM 1919 says throw some trap music over it and you got a decent beat. Maybe. Still trying to figure out how to incorporate the TikTok comments onto the show. Having a tough time with it, though. So that you can actually see them on this little bottom line right here. But easier said than done. Paul, you're the producer. Yeah, bro. I know. I know. Shout out for the follow, Carlos Ortiz. Appreciate that. Let's try this one more time, because we're probably going to do the show at night going forward. Daddy's got to get a real job probably in the near future. So, you know, we're going to have to make it happen. We're going to have to make it happen like that. You know? Let's see. I think that the Instagram comments are open. Isn't this just riveting? Don't you love it? Don't you love watching me do an episode and like figuring out technical difficulties on the fly? I love it too. I love it too. Lone Ranger 614 asks, Paul, what does a real job look like? Great question. I have no idea. Gonna go to a coal mine, break some bricks with a hammer. You know, the usual. Things like that. You know? That's what I like doing. That is what I like doing. All right, I think we actually figured out a way to get the Instagram comments on. So we got that going. And at some point, we'll get it all figured out, guys. Because I love you. And you love me. And we are a happy family. With a great big hug. And a kiss from me to you. Won't you say that I love you too? It would be nice. It would be very, very nice. Let's see. Let's refresh this. All right. I think we're up and running. I think we are up and running, and it actually should be working out right now. Carlos Ortiz says CJ Stroud was bad most of the year. Jay Smooth says CJ, in my opinion, does not get enough hate. Jesus. Truly? That's not very Jesus-like. It's not. That is not very Jesus-like. Some comments about Stroud. Lone Ranger 614 says simple Stroud. Okay. Is that perhaps something that he's getting more shit for due to race? Is that something? The S2 test, are people crushing him that more than they would if he was a white guy? Like, I'm trying to find an argument to stand on here. Say I was a devil's advocate of some sort. Which one would I be able to make here? How would I do it? What would I say? Truly, I don't know. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Ashon Hardhitter says, Paul failed to mention 9 as the biggest quarterback meme this year. Yes, you're right on that front. 9 has been made fun of probably more than anybody. But 9 was really bad, and I think it was justified. I think if you play like shit, you should be destroyed. Absolutely crushed. Is that so much to say? Is that really out of bounds, over the line? I don't think so. But who am I to say anything? You know, I'm just a man. I'm just a man with a plan. Just trying to live my life. Trying to live my life the way the Lord wants me to. But, yeah, guys. H-Town Hardhitter says, can you explain why Alper and Şengün can't make free throws? Is the Rockets game on right now? That's how out of touch I am. Oh my gosh, you should see a picture of my cat right now. My cat is just sitting behind me. Just sitting behind me, lying down like a little goofball. I don't know if she's dead. Is the Rockets game on tonight? Yo, they're playing the Pacers. That's fun. Don't worry, guys. At some point, I'll start talking about that sport. But I think we got all the chat boxes up and running. That's nice. And I don't know why the TikTok's not working out. It's bumming me out. TikTok chats should show, and for whatever reason, they're just not showing. What's up, Chewy? How you doing, buddy? I can't believe we get a Paul stream in prime time. Heck to the yes. Well, going forward, I think I'm going to do it on Monday nights and Thursday nights. Mondays and Thursdays. Okay? We hope that will be a part of your regular schedule. We do. We really hope that. Paul, the show sucks, though. I know. Anyone see that the Vikings canned their general manager, Kwesi Adolfo Mensah? That's a cool name. Huh? I want that name. That'd be fun. Right? I think it would be fun. But that's just me. Anyway, everyone seems to think he was canned, not because he took number 9, as brought up a little bit earlier by H-Town Hard Hitter. People think that he was canned because he took paternity leave. This is what aggregation has brought to the table, everybody. Aggregation is just ruining everything. I'm going to point to an example from JPA football or some bullshit. And eventually I'm going to show it to you guys. Eventually it's going to be here. It's loading very slowly. JPA, which is a Jazzree football or something like that, posted rumors. Former Vikings GM Kwesi Adolfo Mensah took 2 weeks of paternity leave in 2023 after the birth of his first son, and many around the league were in disbelief that he did, per Diana Rossini and Alec Lewis. Quote, in an NFL culture where many players, coaches, and executives proudly acknowledge missing the births of their children, taking time away to care for a newborn and support a partner remains uncommon. Among some rival executives and coaches, it was met with disbelief. Met with disbelief? Why? You would think to yourself. But the reason he got fired is not this. This is just something that got brought up as something, you know, when you ask around, when somebody gets let go in the world of sports, dirt comes out. Because everyone's a gossip in all facets of life. Apparently, the football community really thinks that in taking paternity leave, he screwed up because there's a lot of guys who are constantly working 200 nights a week, living in the back of rental cars, essentially going out and scouting things that are working as high as the NFL level, and they feel like they are more qualified than him. And okay, maybe that's an argument to make. But the Vikings apparently supported him throughout him going on paternity leave. So it's really about him drafting J.J. McCarthy looking terrible, and then moving on from Sam Darnold after stumbling into Darnold last year after McCarthy got hurt. That's what it's all about. I now have a question, and perhaps this question will be an unpopular one. Say the football culture guys are right. I don't know. I got a thought. Why not plan for having a baby in February or March, early April, May, June, early July? And I get it. There's an NFL draft, and there's the NFL combine, and there's free agency, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but I'm sure that there is a time of year that would be acceptable to plan to have this kid if you got to fit in with the NFL culture and you're not allowed to take paternity leave. I'm sure there's a way to do it. But I guess not in the case of this fella. So pour one out, everybody, for former Vikings general manager Kwesi Adolfo Mensah. Let's read some comments. Instagram, trying to maintain comments. Everyone on the Texans team says they have CJ's back, but if you go to the games, you get the vibe that the team does not have Stroud's back. I don't know about that. I think that the Texans are pretty close-knit. I do think that they have his back for now, but I am curious as to how strongly they have his back after what just went down in the playoffs. I think anyone would be somewhat second-guessing what he is as a quarterback when something like that goes down in the midst of a game. But that's just me. What else do we got here? Ooh, the NFL is going to play in Paris next season. Paris. Oh, Paris. Le temps sont mieux dans le pays de France. Gilda, allons les sauvetins. I just made up a bunch of French words there. Paul was a French club president back in the day. And it's going to be, guess this, the Saints. Oh, I got the New Orleans ties and Browns. We're exporting Saints, Browns to Paris. I do like that the bad games are going to Europe, but none of these games should go to Europe. All of these games should be played in the United States of America. It's pissing me off that we are constantly trying to build a bigger market for the National Football League in places that do not give a shit about the NFL. I get it. We're an imperialist country now. Now we're out in the open about it, finally. After all these years of pretending that we're the good guys. But they don't need our football. Tickets are expensive enough. The NFL is a chief kindness officer. See this? Hear about this? A chief kindness officer. That's right. I don't have a job, but the NFL is giving out a gig called the chief kindness officer. Now, I don't know if they would give a job with the title chief kindness officer to me. Personally, I don't think they would. Because I don't think that I'm that kind. At least I don't give that impression when I'm doing a show and I'm blabbing and talking shit. But this is bullshit. Why didn't I get this job? This is a bullshit job. Chief Kindness Officer and Creator of the Week for Super Bowl 60. Who the fuck is this guy? His name is Darman or Darman. Oh my God, he looks like a complete goofball. A complete goofball. I'm just going to show you some of the pictures of him. Sorry to judge a book by his cover. I will judge a book by his cover. I do not like this hair. Also, this is the photo that is used for the About Darman on Darman's website, I guess. Hi, I'm Darman. I've always had big plans. Shut up, Pop. Get your weekly dose of positivity. Fuck you. I don't want that. Hi, I'm Darman. I've always had big plans for my life, but things didn't exactly go according to plan. At 30 years old, I found myself at the lowest point in my life. I was completely broke, going through a difficult breakup, and feeling really depressed. I thought I was a total failure. I kept asking myself, are things ever going to get better? I still remember going to bed at night with so many worries weighing heavy on my mind. I had so much anxiety that I'd wake up a lot of mornings with my sheets completely soaked from sweat. Let's take some pills for that. Although I couldn't see it then, I realize now that all the pain I went through actually served an important purpose. And if you're experiencing hardship similar to how I was, so will yours. Let me explain. For a nominal fee, probably. I would think. This is one of the photos he posted. I agree, Arya. Crazy. All right, well, now he's showing pictures of his family. Listen, now I feel like a jerk. I just wanted to point this out, though, this Chief Kindness Officer. I just wanted to point this out. This Chief Kindness Officer, in case you didn't know this is a man who's had a run-in or two with the law. Yes, everybody. Yes, he's had a run-in or two with the law. See this? Hear about this? Loading. Ganjapreneur Darmon sentenced to 5 years probation for defrauding Oakland. Oh, that's fun. So listen, he's a kindness officer, and he's once been found guilty of fraud, but he only had to serve probation. I wonder if that's the lowest point of his life that he was talking about there, since it took place back in 2014. Was he 30 years old then? I don't know. Bullshit that this guy gets that job. I should be the chief kindness officer for Super Bowl 60. I should. You know it, I know it. Okay. What did Roger Goodell have to say when asked all the tough questions today at the NFL State of the Union that they always do right before the Super Bowl? Did he actually let people ask the toughies? Did he do that? Let's take a look at what he had to say. Here you go. This is Roger Goodell being asked the big topical question.
Sorry. Hi. Two-part question, although they are related. Will there be any ICE enforcement operations, to your knowledge, around the Super Bowl, whether that's this week and at the game on Sunday? And then the second part, Bad Bunny made a pretty clear anti-ICE statement at the Grammys last night. What are you expecting in terms of political statement, whether that's from Bad Bunny or Green Day or any of the other performers?
On your first question, security is obviously one of the things we focus on the most. It's a Tier 1 level event that involves unique assets at the federal level, state level, and the local level, all working together. I see no change in that in the preparations for the Super Bowl. We have not seen that. We're working with all three of those levels and doing everything we can to make sure it's a safe environment. And the federal government is a big part of that, including this administration, every other administration before that. I think Tier 1 is probably been the category we've had since at least the turn of the century, if not before that. So I just anticipate we'll continue to do the work to make it the safest event. On your second question, I think everybody in listen, Bad Bunny is
Bad Benny, come on, dude.
And I think that was demonstrated last night, one of the great artists in the world. And that's one of the reasons we chose him. But the other reason is he understood the platform he was on, and that this platform is used to unite people and to be able to bring people together with their creativity, with their talents, and to be able to use this moment to do that. And I think artists in the past have done that. I think Bad Bunny understands that, and I think he'll have a great performance.
He's going to unite some. He's not going to unite everybody, though. You know, there's going to be some people that look at that and they're going to be like, fuck off with that. Fuck off with that, you know? But I'm excited for Bad Bunny from this perspective. I actually recognize the act. Could have been a bunch of other people. I didn't know really much of Kendrick Lamar's stuff, and I don't really find him to be that good. He's a genius because he wrote a diss track about Drake. Wow, awesome. Bam. It's the kind of thing that you see with my jam. I like to have me some honey baked ham. Like, I don't, something about the voice I don't like. But Bad Bunny's good. You know, I've heard that while going out and about. He was funny in the Happy Gilmore sequel. One of the few funny parts of that movie. So I don't have an issue with Bad Bunny being up there, but there will be op-eds aplenty on all the usual suspects, I would imagine, on Monday. I think there's going to be more probably about Green Day, though, if we're being perfectly honest. What other tough questions do we got for Mr. Roger Goodell? Did they actually let him... did they actually let anyone ask a toughie? Let's see. Loading on the river. This is Roger Goodell when asked about the NFL hiring 0 black coaches this cycle.
I think we need to continue to make progress, and I believe that. I believe diversity is good for us. I think we have become a more diverse league across every platform, including coaching. But we still have more work to do. There's got to be more steps. So we're reevaluating everything we're doing including our accelerator program, including every aspect of our policies and our programs to meet the challenges of today and tomorrow rather than yesterday. So we need to be looking at that and sort of say, okay, why did we have the results this year? What is it that we can be doing in training or education, and that goes for not just the candidates, but also the clubs, and how we can try to continue to increase the opportunities and the outcomes ultimately.
Okay, Raj. Roger King of saying absolutely fucking nothing there. Look, Rooney Rule has failed. I think it's crazy that Brian Flores is not hired this cycle when you take a look at some of the people that have been brought in. You know, how many LaFleurs are there? Joe Brady's still running the show. I don't get the Mike McCarthy hire. I really don't get the Todd Monken hire, but I think the Browns might be the one team where it's really tough for them to bring anybody in. I can't believe Robert Saleh got hired again, to be honest. Every single clip of him that I saw in Hard Knocks, if I'm an adult man and that guy is talking to me, that stupid fucking speech that he had about eagles and crows pecking at their necks, if my eyes didn't glaze over, I don't know. What, can I take that person seriously? Oh, he was on the Jets. Oh, yeah, it's going to be better with the Titans. Now, I will say the Titans at least nailed the Brian Daboll hire, but this coaching cycle, I am pretty underwhelmed. Hell, I'm underwhelmed by John Harbaugh. What has John Harbaugh done? Had a great quarterback the last 5 years? What's he done? Like, all I know about John Harbaugh is complain about the Patriots. Oh, they did a thing that I wasn't aware because I don't know the rule book as well as Bill Belichick does. I'm John Harbaugh. I'm not Jim. Did win a Super Bowl, though, thanks to Joe Flacco going Super Saiyan for a couple of weeks. So there you go, guys. Roger Goodell actually did field tough questions today. Who would have thought? Not me. I remember one time I showed up for one of his press conferences, and the entire time I just wanted to ask some question that implied that he was a hypocrite because of how he handled the New England Patriots. Time for a little brain rot, everybody. Hey, the Grammys happened. Anyone see Chappelle Roan's dress that was held up by her nips? Fashion. We're talking about fashion. We're talking about boobs that are holding up a dress with nipple rings. Yeah, it was something else. Something else. The real star of the show, in my opinion, Christina Aguilera. If you want to be with me. Like, she was there once again at the Grammys. And I got to say, she looked like a very strong and powerful and very independent woman. You know? Very strong, very powerful, very independent. And we hope that she's able to wear whatever she wore again. It is interesting seeing how the Grammys are consumed online. There's a lot of people out there who agree with what musicians and what actors have to say. But let's be honest, those people live in a bubble. I think they're well-intentioned, but sometimes they're also under pressure to say the things that can placate an entire crowd so that they keep on getting invited to all the parties. Do we believe that every single person that goes to the West Coast or that's in the music industry is their most authentic self at all times? Probably not. But I do find it interesting that Sydney Sweeney has an advertisement campaign that is based off of a pun saying, I have good genes. By the way, that's how it works. If you have good genes, that's going to determine whether or not your face looks like it has been or not been hit with the shovel. This is how it goes. Some people are blessed, other people not so much. I'm kind of blessed. My girlfriend is very blessed. But not everyone's blessed on that front. Some people are ugly as rocks, right? So, would we say at the very least that Sydney Sweeney was blessed in the genetics department when it comes to looking the way that she looks? Whether it's the face or the ladies upstairs. I would think that most people would agree on that front. But I don't know. Truly. I don't know. I'm just a man. I'm just a man without a plan. But a lot of people criticized her as if she was some sort of fascist or Nazi because she did this advertising campaign. She did another advertising campaign, and I think she got an interview with, Cosmo, and had this to say: I'm in the arts. I'm not here to speak on politics. That's not an area I've ever even imagined getting into. It's not why I became who I am. I became an actor because I like to tell stories. I don't believe in hate in any form. I believe we should all love each other and have respect and understanding for one another. I've never been here to talk about politics. I've always been here to make art. So this is just not a conversation I want to be at the forefront of. And by the way, it's not like she's ever put herself at the forefront of the conversation. Oh my God, she's in an advertisement that's based off of a bad pun. She's a Nazi fascist. This one. No, I don't think that she ever wanted it to go any further than it did, but a lot of people who were mad and spend way too much fucking time online decided to get mad about it. And I think that because of that, people want to take it even further and use me as their own pawn. But it's something else assigning something to me, and I can't control that. So she says that. And I'm sure someone's going to find a way to say, well, she didn't speak up about ICE. Well, she didn't speak up about Ukraine. Well, she didn't speak up about insert whatever the fuck she's supposed to speak up about. Like, you want to hear the thoughts of somebody like Sydney Sweeney. No offense to Sydney Sweeney. I would think that Sydney Sweeney is focused on, I don't know, anything but all the shitty things in the world. If you were a hot, rich person, wouldn't you try to distract yourself as much as possible? But for whatever reason, now in 2024, 5, 6, I don't know when it started, but now all of a sudden, we're supposed to know what these people think. Do we think all of these people are brilliant? Do we think all of these people are smart? I'm not smart. I'm not brilliant. I appreciate you listening to me. But I think it's crazy that we're expecting someone like Sydney Sweeney to have takes on things. Especially when we do get the takes that some people shared at the Grammys, you realize, oh, there's not a lot of substance here. There's not a lot of substance behind what Billie Eilish said in her acceptance speech for whatever the fuck she won. I'll never watch the Grammys at the Grammys last night. In case you missed it, here it is. This is Billie Eilish while dressed like a pilgrim math teacher.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
Look at this. Look at this chick in this shirt. Okay.
And yeah, it's just really hard to know what to say and what to do right now. And I feel really...
How about don't say anything? It's really hard to know what to say right now. But it's illegal to be illegally on stolen land. Okay, can I have your house? Can I have your mansion? You have a nice mansion? Can I have it? It's illegal to own things on stolen land, right? We're going to keep on going by that logic. Like, this is the kind of substance that people are hoping to get from the most famous and powerful people out there. Like, it's actually going to provide something that's going to add something to the table. What the fuck are we doing here? Oh, God, Sydney Sweeney won't stand up. This is standing up, apparently. This is standing up, just repeating the same shit that a bunch of people that lean left are saying online. And hey, listen, the first person who made that argument, they had a point, I guess. But when everyone's just repeating the same thing over and over again, do you really think that she came up with this on her own? She was just sitting there and she was thinking, while in between a couple of her songs, I love to my ocean eyes. You know, like, do you think that all of a sudden she came to the point where she was like, yes, stolen land? Can't be illegal people on stolen land. I don't think so. That's just me. That's just me. Anyway, guys, the Grammys, they happened last night. We wish everybody who was able to attend. We wish that they had the greatest possible time that they could. So there you go, guys. That's going to wrap up today's edition of the Gallant Says podcast. A little bit messy today. Doing some other things on the side. The show is going to be a Monday night and a Thursday night deal. 8 p.m. It's going to be a little more fun, I think, going forward. Less football to talk about, so we're going to try to consolidate the football that we can talk about. We'll talk about the Super Bowl coming up. Patriots derangement syndrome's back. It's fucking awesome. And a bunch of other stuff, too. Politics, pop culture, all that jazz. But we are moving to a 2 times a week show. Daddy's got to find a real job. It ain't coming so quickly. So we're trying to lighten the workload for me. I'm spending way too much time on these shows as it is, doing a lot of prep for stuff that we didn't even get to on today's show. So we'll be better in the future, but I appreciate everybody who has stuck with me as long as you have. I know you might be like, where the fuck has he been all these times? Yeah, good question. I probably should be better about announcing it online. But anyway, that's going to wrap up today's edition of the show. Subscribe, rate, and review. If you're watching along on Apple Podcasts, you can't, because that's not possible. But you can watch along on YouTube. Like the video and subscribe. Twitch at Gallant Says. Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. Instagram at Sports Gallant. X at Gallant Says. At Gallant Says Pod. We are also available after the fact, Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify. Until Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Time. So long. Farewell.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu.